gathered in full to conduct an interview with the candidate for the position of Judge of the Constitutional Court of Ukraine, Mr. Hrytsenko Denis Valerievich, who was admitted to competitive selection by the decision of the Council of Judges of Ukraine. Mr. Hrytsenko is an attorney at the Alliance Attorney Association. We are ready to start, so I will give the floor back to the Secretary of the Advisory Group of Experts, Mr. Romaniuk, to explain the algorithm of our work today and moderate interview. Please, Mr. Secretary.
Дякую, пане голово. Вітаємо Дениса Валерійовича.
Thank you, Chair. Welcome, Denis Valerievich, and all those who are watching our broadcasting. As our Chair has said, we are ready to begin the interview with the candidate for the position of the Judge of the Constitutional Court, Denis Valerievich Hrytsenko. Today, all 6 members of the AGE are present here and 5 their deputies. Some members are present here and some participate in the meeting through video connection. We have present here the chair of the group of experts, Alex Zaler, members of the AG, Hanna Sukhotska, Marina Connor, Oksana Vasilchenko, the member of the AG, Vasil Shakon, and myself, the secretary of the AG, Yaroslav Romaniuk. Also, during the interview, 5 deputy members of the AG are present, Thomas Griffith, Richard Barrett, Marek Zubik, Volodymyr Kuzmenko, and Vitaly Makhinchuk. I will briefly explain the regulatory framework and the procedure for conducting interviews. The interview is one of the mandatory stages of evaluating the criterion of high moral qualities of candidates. The aim of this interview is to give you an opportunity to dispel any concerns about your high moral qualities, which correspond to the position of the judge of the Constitutional Court on Ukraine. You communicated with our group and we are thankful to you for this. You answered some questions which we had. And now we informing you that you have no opportunity to provide information which I asked before, but which you didn't provide to us or decided to provide it to us at your own initiative, documents or other materials which we didn't have opportunity to process before. But if there are weighty reasons, we can make an exception. Also, I'd like to inform you that this interview is recorded and broadcast at the resources of the AG and Constitutional Court of Ukraine. Also want to draw attention of the members of the AG and your candidate regarding the restriction of the use of sensitive data and information with limited access live. If there is a need to discuss such information, we will put limits on this broadcasting so that information would not leave these premises. Also, I draw your attention to the fact that the duration of the interview is planned for 1 hour, and you will be given opportunity to formulate answers to the questions in the framework of 3 minutes. So please be concise and short and give clear answers to the questions. At the end of the interview, we can make a short closing statement up to 5 minutes. Do you understand? Yes. So now we are ready to start the interview. The rapporteurs on your candidacy are myself and Madam Marina Connor. I will start with the questions. The first block of questions concerns apartments to which you have certain relation. The first apartment was procured by you in 2011, the size of 21.5 square meters. You know what apartment we mean. According to the agreement, it was said that the cost is $4,575. But answering the questions of the advisory group, you informed that in reality the apartment cost 15,000 US dollars. Explain why the real value of the apartment was underestimated and what why this happened. Once again, my greetings to all of you. The simple Ukrainians, grassroots people, can understand me because when I was about 16 years old, my mom received an apartment in Dnipro. It's a two-bedroom apartment. We privatized it. It was in the end of 1990s. It was privatized by myself, my mom, and my sister. Then, when I married in 2003, I left that apartment, but in 2011, my mom was forced to leave the sister. I would like to remind you about the regulation. 3 minutes. Why the difference in documents? $4,500, in fact, $15,000. Why? Why there is why the real value was not indicated in the document? Most probably to avoid paying taxes. And my mom wouldn't be able to buy the apartment which she planned to buy. You sold, you sold the apartment. Who had to pay the tax? I only signed agreements. Because the apartment which was sold in 2011 we procured at the expense of another which was sold for 45,000, two-bedroom. The apartment was purchased for $15,000, but in the document it is indicated for point half. Why didn't you indicate the real cost? Was it your initiative? No, that was the initiative of the seller. Because it happens here that the sellers try to avoid paying taxes. Do you realize that agreeing to this mechanism of reducing real price in the agreement, you help the seller to avoid taxation? Yes, I understand this, but where the decision could be taken by myself, I took it individually. But in this case, the decision on all these apartments were taken by my mom, and she asked me to sign these documents. As I say, we bought this apartment for my sister, and my part of cost of the another apartment. We've got the answer to the question which we asked on the reasons. The initiative by the seller in 2015, you got rid of this apartment. So why did you buy it and so that to sell it in such short time? We bought this apartment for my sister because my sister and mom didn't want to live together. And my share at the previous apartment which we sold for 45,000, but in the agreement it was 22,000 US dollars because these simple people in this country do who don't have money to buy something new. Because if they do not reduce the cost and pay all the taxes, the aim was to buy apartment for my mom and another apartment for my sister. And after paying money for the apartment, they moved into other apartments. And then in 2015, my mom told me that the sister wants to buy another apartment. They offered me to sell it. From 2011 to 2015, there was a refurbishment in that apartment. No, my mom said that when they bought it, they did some small refurbishment, and I can I haven't been in that apartment at all. the next apartment, the property rights for which you acquired in December 2015. It was presented to you by your mom, gifted, when you signed the agreement on the gift. Also, the price of this apartment was also reduced. This is the regular procedure because the notary said they had some standard sum. This didn't influence the taxation, but notary for some reason wanted. Maybe that was because of paying a notary fee. Usually, notaries take 1% of the cost. So the aim was to reduce the fee to the notary. Yes, the notary indicated this in the agreement. Where did your mom got that apartment? That apartment at Heroi Stalingrada, bedroom apartment. When we sold it for 45,000, my mom and sister moved to another apartment, and they bought that another apartment, and I haven't got a penny from that. So when mom and sister decided to sell the apartment which was registered as mine and sold that another one, I said, Mom, this is my money and I will have no money at all. Do I understand correctly from previous communications of the AGE with you that since December 2015, since you got property rights, and until April 2024, you rented this apartment? No, it's not correct. In my explanations, I wrote that from 2015 and most probably till 2019, my mom and nephew lived there, and then after my grandmom felt bad, my mom went there and they started renting apartments since that year, because after the beginning of the full-fledged war by my from January 2019, did you rent it? Yeah, since 2024. 1st January 2024, I've been renting it. Do you pay taxes on that income? But we signed an agreement in January this year. But do you have any intention to submit the declaration to pay taxes? I do have, but even in the agreement it is indicated the bank account to which the payment should go. This is my mom's account. The next.
The next apartment is the apartment that is owned by your wife since June of 2009. Is this the joint ownership? Yes, it's according to the documents that is joint ownership. That is the apartment with the area of 47.6 square meters. I will not name the address again, and the price that is stated is $35,000. Again, is this the real price that is stated in the agreement? Yes. And here, as I've explained, and I would like to explain again, here we've specified the real value of this apartment because my wife used her funds to buy this apartment. My wife used to have at Hrytsenko Street, and that is the city center, and prices for apartments there are quite high. Hrytsenko Park is nearby, and there was the 4-room apartment. My mother-in-law privatized it together with her daughters because my mother-in-law during the Soviet times used to work in trade, or father-in-law or she got this apartment, and once they sold it, they this older sister who lives now in Kharkiv insisted on the sale of this apartment because she was saying, I don't have my own residence, and she insisted on selling this apartment, and using the share of my wife, that was $35,000, was used to buy this apartment. So the source of origin of funds to buy this apartment, yes, from the sale of apartment at Hrytsenko that was owned by my wife. And the sellers also wanted to undervalue the price of the apartment to evade taxation. But here it was our decision with my wife, and we said no, we will specify the real value. And the seller said, if you want to specify the real value, then pay the tax instead of me, and the difference in these taxes. Which we could have evaded, and we agreed to that, so we had to pay additionally taxes instead of the seller. So you used funds from the sale of the apartment that was owned by your wife, and you contributed? No, no. My mother-in-law gifted us $5,000. How has this apartment been used since then? Do you live there? I live now both there partially at Novorichna Street, where my mom and nephew live, because my workplace is closer to there, and the church that I'm attending is closer to Shuhavicha. Okay, the next apartment that we're interested in is the apartment bought in November of 2022, in which 3/8 are owned by your mother. Do you understand the apartment? Yes, Novorichna. How did she acquire this share into ownership under the deed of gift? Who was the gifter? Her mother gifted this apartment. My mother has two sisters. Her father died long time ago, and this three-room apartment, Novorichna Street, where I have a room, and my nephew lives there as well, by the way, with my mom and me. And this apartment was owned by my grandparents, that is my mother's parents, and my mother's sister and niece. So 3/8 of the share were gifted by her mother. Yes? Yes. All the others left. My aunt and sister live nearby. And since my mother was looking after the sister, and after the death of the father she did not get anything, so the grandmother decided that since you are looking after me, let me re-register my share into your name. Her sister had no concerns about that either, so 3/8 of the share were gifted to my mother in order to avoid the inheritance procedures, etc. And now you live in this apartment, right? Together with your mother and nephew. Yes, but as I'm saying, partially I live there, and partially I live at Shuhavicha Street. Okay, in different apartments. Okay, that's clear with the apartments. The next block of questions that the AGE is interested in is about your trips to the United Kingdom. And regarding this block of questions, my colleague, Miss Marin, will ask questions. Please, Miss Marin.
I understand you speak English, and we speak in English or using a translator?
Ні, я розумію.
I understand English, but it is difficult for me to speak in English. So I will use Ukrainian.
Ukrainian, I'll use English. Okay. All right. In your response to the written request by the advisory group of experts, you stated that your wife and your children live abroad in the United Kingdom. That's currently their situation right now, correct?
Та.
Yes, yes.
Okay. And when did they move to the United Kingdom?
They moved to the United Kingdom in August of 2022.
Before that?
Before that, since March, when the full-scale war started, we did not plan for them to live abroad, but we live at this Shuhavicha Street, and it's very close to the railway station and bus station. And there were some attacks on these objects. So in early March they moved because our friends lived in Poland, in Szczecin, and their friends suggested them to move there for the war period. I agreed, and they left there. They spent there about 2 weeks at the friend's place, and then thanks God, they found the apartment. They could rent it in Poland in 2022, and they lived there until August because friends moved to Canada. And that was the reason for them to move further to the UK, because we also have friends there, and they were saying, come to us, while the situation is like that.
Okay. So based on your response just now, your family chose to go to the United Kingdom because you have friends there. Is that the reason?
Yes.
Any other reason why you would choose the United Kingdom?
Ні.
No.
Okay.
Ну, ви
Well, for my children to learn the language, and the education is good there, and my children go to school there for 2 years. My older son graduated. He came here and he entered the university, and he entered the college there. And my younger child is going to school there. Just for them to learn English, and upon their return here, they could invest into our country what they could do.
Okay, and you have 2 children, is that correct?
двоє.
Yes.
Are they?
Одному
One is 17 and the other is 11.
So the 17-year-old is at university? Is that correct?
він
Remotely in Dnipro University, that is the Customs and Finance University, and before that he studied remotely here in the Lyceum in order to get the full secondary education, and he also studies there. And there he is like studying in person. So
Okay, so is he currently in the United Kingdom remotely attending
так.
university? Is that correct?
та.
Okay.
yes.
So you have informed us that you applied for a resident permit in the United Kingdom in December of 23. That's accurate?
Ну, подали
Probably I applied in October and I got it in December, on the 1st of December, if I'm not mistaken.
So you acquired it in December then. Okay, what was the purpose for this residence permit?
Посвідку на
Why did you do that, and how did you manage to do that?
в той час
Back then, it was allowed for Ukrainians to be sponsors. While everything was fine with the program, and my wife was my sponsor for this program because she got employed in Kent University there, and she showed her income, she showed her place of residence, and thanks to her, since she was my sponsor, I was provided with this residence permit. The purpose, first of all, to visit my family, and secondly, to visit the church in Kent, that is the city church in Kent.
Or to visit your family, you needed a resident permit? Is that true?
ну,
Since I could get a visa, but it was unreal to get the visa. I work church, and in order to get the visa, I had to go to Poland to apply documents there to come back, then to probably go to Germany to get this visa in my passport, and then go to the UK. So my wife and I decided that because I can't go to the UK without a visa. And for reunification with the family, while the war is ongoing, we decided to get this residence permit. It's valid for 3 years, since December 1st until the 1st of December of 2026.
And your wife acquired a residence permit as well. That's how she's there working?
та.
Yes, yes. She got it back in August of 2022 together with my children.
Sponsored them.
Їх спонсор
Their sponsor were our friends Derek and John. They live not far from Canterbury in Kent. That's a small village in which they reside. Chatham.
Because she had a resident permit, she was able to sponsor you even though she's not a citizen of the United Kingdom.
спочатку
Yes, it was allowed according to their rules initially, but I think in January of 2023 or maybe in 2024 they changed the program because of some manipulations. So now it's not allowed anymore for Ukrainians. Ukrainians cannot be sponsors anymore.
Ukrainians for this program? Just Ukrainians cannot do it anymore?
ні.
BRP, that is biometrical residence permit, is issued to any citizen from any other country. So it's like general for all. It's like a plastic card, and they are valid until the end of this year, and then they will switch to e-visa in the electronic format.
All right, so you just mentioned that your motivation, the reason you're going to the United Kingdom, And by the way, how often do you go to England?
Ну,
Since the start of 2024, I try to go there once every 3 months. Once every 3-4 months.
24 in
Я взагалі не
2020.
виїжджав.
I did not live. I did not go to England at all. And my wife came to Dnipro or to Western Ukraine together with children, and we met there once every 3 months.
And this is the only, is this the only place that you travel abroad, is to go to England in 2024?
Так,
There's no other countries that you go to?
ні.
No.
Кошице це слово.
I'm going through Košice, that's Slovakia. I spend there like half a day, get a plane there, and then I go to England.
And do you support your family who's are living in Great Britain now? Are you their support? Financial support?
Фінансове
Financial support consists only in those funds. Back when my wife was here, we registered the second bank card. That is my salary card. She got it, like the second card, and she can use it. But as far as I see, they do not spend that much from that card. They spend, but mostly these are children spending the money from the card, and not my wife, because my wife gets the salary and she gets the assistance from Universal Credit, and this money is enough for them. And my mother-in-law lives with them there, and once Britons learned about the pension of my mother-in-law here, they started to pay her additionally. So they managed to deal with that.
So your family is supported by your wife's earnings, and where does she work?
University of Kent.
What's her position there?
вона
She works remotely in the research department. Because it is difficult for her to work, to go to the university, because it's very difficult for her to walk. So she works remotely and part-time.
And so your wife has a salary, and that supports the family along with the mother-in-law's income, helps to support the family. And then you said there sometimes they tap into your account, your earnings, by the credit card?
Так.
Yes.
The bank card, I'm sorry. All right.
Я не знаю скільки, але
I don't know how much, but I provided bank statements regarding my Vile card on Sunday, and you can understand how much they spent.
All right. What are your legal grounds for traveling abroad under martial law? What do you,
No.
you have to get permission to go to England from Ukraine, correct?
ну
Yes, I need to get that, but now I plan to go there in December, so I hope that I will not go through this permission of the State Border Service. I have other grounds for trips abroad, but since I was going to visit the church as well, there is a mechanism that I applied to the bishop. I provided the invitation from the church, because the church that I'm attending, and I'm one of the pastors in one of the churches. It has about 100,000 churches all over Ukraine. I appealed to them, then they appealed to the Association of the Freedom of Belief, then they sent this letter to the State Border Service with request to assist, and then the State Border Service can decide whether to allow me to live abroad or not, if there is a suspicion that the person will not come back or there are no grounds for going abroad. And I always came back every time, reported, so there were no questions about my trips abroad. So, based on legal grounds. But now I have other grounds for going abroad as well, so I hope that I will be able to go anyway, because my wife has a disability, and now I need to get the certificate from the British consulate, and according to Resolution 57 on the crossing of the state border, it will allow me to leave Ukraine without my wife at any point, but I can't leave now at any point.
Let me understand. Up to this point, you had to justify why you were going to England and get a letter from the church there to verify that you're coming over there to work as a pastor? Is that what I heard you say?
Ні, не те, ні.
No, no, not to work as a pastor, not to justify, but just for me to visit the church and for family, I needed to get these documents based on which they would allow me to leave Ukraine. Because without these documents, I would have had some other grounds to leave Ukraine. But since I was really going to the church, I didn't have to lie, so I got the invitation, I went there, I spent time in the church, and based on this ground, I was allowed to leave Ukraine.
But your real purpose was to visit your family.
Насправді так.
Actually, yes, because if my wife were here together with my family, maybe I would go there, but not that often, or maybe I would not go there. So actually, they're waiting for me at any time, but then I would decide how necessary it would be to go there.
Now, let's talk about your activity with the church in England. Who was the first to initiate this trip? You know, this involvement between you and the church. Did you ask them to be involved with them, or did they reach out to you first?
Першими,
Since my wife left to the UK and our friends were visiting that church, who were the sponsors of my family once they moved to the UK, so my wife approached the head of the church and said, I have a husband, he's a pastor here in Ukraine, he can come tell about the situation in Ukraine and to specify some needs. And they agreed, and so the initiative was, for the first time, the initiative of my wife.
All right, describe the congregation that you're associated with in England. The makeup of the church that you're involved with. How many people, how many other pastors do they have? That sort of thing.
They have the leadership composition, that is the city church in Canterbury. I think it's the largest there. I think they have up to 500 people visiting this church from different countries, because this is actually the student city, Canterbury. And they have about 15 leaders who are priesters, who are pastors, and who are like the management of this church. And they invite me there. I can share about the situation happening here, and even in the mass media for the past 6 months in the UK, the information has been covered in a slightly different way.
Okay, so there's 500 people that belong to the church, and you speak to the congregation when? On Sundays or other events?
це
First of all, that's on Sunday, of course, because I spend there only one weekend. Usually when I come, I spend there like only one weekend. So I'm trying to go in like that. And in the middle of the week, they have some leadership meetings where they gather together to pray and for our country as well. And there they listen to the needs that we have, and they ask how they can help during these difficult times.
And how do they help? How does this congregation help Ukraine?
Ну, саме ця громада, крім
This congregation, besides preaching, also support Ukrainians directly, those who need assistance. When, for example, we inform in the church about what's going on in Ukraine, and when we inform about work which has been done in my church and my sister of my wife, and we say that they do that and that and that. And some of them may even transfer money to the account of my sister, who spends them for the child care center for children who came from occupied territories to Dnipro. So those who can help they do this help, but this is not done through myself because I don't like getting any money at all.
I understand you go and you speak to the congregation about what's happening in Ukraine and the needs that are present in Ukraine. And sometimes they respond by sending your sister money to help with childcare. Is that all accurate so far?
Ну, вона веде дитячий центр, у неї є
Yes, she also has her charity foundation. And we have many friends in the United States and other countries who also respond. And she informs them about what's going on and how she spends this money. But I have nothing to do with that activities at all. Besides legal assistance, I didn't help them. I don't help them.
How many are Ukrainian, are from Ukraine and have settled here in Canterbury and belong to this church? Besides your wife and the friends that you initially
саме українців, які
Ukrainians at the church, I almost didn't see them. There are some of them, but they are not members of that church congregation. But there are not many of them compared to how many people arrived from Ukraine to the Canterbury. So sometimes I go to people who I know in other counties to meet Ukrainians, to talk to them. But this doesn't take much time, maybe a day. During the whole visit, I may allocate one day for that.
members of the Canterbury Church about what's happening here in Ukraine or your sister's needs or whatever, do you speak to them in English?
Ні, я розмовляю з ними українською.
No, I speak to them Ukrainian, but usually my wife interprets into English. Either my wife or her sister, with whom we sometimes meet when we visit England. She is a twin sister of my sister. They speak perfect English.
In addition to the friends that sponsored your wife, she also has a sister there in England?
Ну, сестра у неї зараз
Her sister now is in Dnipro, but she has a residence permit, and sometimes she visits England and my family. The sister of my twin sister of my wife.
Resident of
Ні,
England?
ні,
All right.
ні.
No.
All right. Do you, besides talking about the situation in Ukraine and the developments with the aggression, do you also preach and do religious messaging to this congregation?
Ну, не завжди, але ну, проповідуємо і молимось.
Yes, sometimes preach and do religious messages.
В церкві. Та.
Yes, in the church. In the church and at the leadership meetings which take place in the office of the church.
How much time do you usually spend at the Canterbury Church? If you're there 10 days, okay, how much time out of the 10 days would you devote to the Canterbury Church?
Кентерберійській церкві я би приділив
Most probably 2 days. So one day in the church and one day on Sunday to the leadership meeting.
Not the whole day. I mean, you're there doing, what, a couple hours each day?
Ну, ні, ну вони там зазвичай
Usually it's 2 hours. Then there are some meetings, so half a day.
That you have to visit England for the foreseeable future, as long as your wife and children are there in England?
Ну, поки от в грудні я планую туди поїхати.
So in December, I am planning to go there, if I manage. I'm planning to go there for 5 days because it's my son's birthday, and I want to go there on the not through this service through which I usually go. And now I want to greet my son with his birthday. Maybe I will not even go to the church.
Family trip.
Да, і підстава для виїзду планується.
Yes, and the grounds for living in Ukraine are planned to be different.
Tell Ukraine in order to get the permission to leave in December if it's purely family related.
Та. А тут немає, що тут є.
There is item 2 of the resolution by the Cabinet of Ministers on crossing the border, where it's indicated that my wife is a person with disability. So I need some documents, pension certificate and certificate from the consulate that she's in the council registered and the consulate in the UK, but also I'd like to send a separate letter to the border service to make sure that on the grounds of all these documents they will let me go.
Ukraine, you have a higher theological education, and you're also a pastor of a religious organization here in Ukraine, correct?
Та.
All right. And is that
Yes.
Ні.
no? So it's volunteer.
No.
Та.
Yes.
Canterbury Church, is that paid or is that volunteer?
Ні. Це ж суто добровільно.
No, it's purely volunteer.
Church here, your religious organization, is it Religious Community of the Evangelical Christian Church, Five Loaves? It was registered in February of this year?
Та. Це нова церква.
Yes, it's a new church.
Та.
You're the only pastor?
Yeah.
Ну,
Yes, at service there we just opened this church for people who didn't come to any church at all, because in view of the situation in Ukraine, I had an intention to do this a long time ago, because I started visiting church since 1999, and now I'm serving in the church we started in 23. Then we registered it officially later on, and combining it with the service in another church, which is also belongs to our grouping. We have meetings. So in fact, I serve in two churches, but I'm responsible for serving in Five Breads church. There is a team, two deputies, and some other members.
In your congregation, in the Five Loaves church, how many people are members of your church?
Ну, у нас потрібно
We
вірили. Членам про
So members of the church are the founders, and it had to be 10 persons, but from 30 to 50 people visit the church. For these people to become members of the church, it's necessary for them to be real believers who change their life and go through the water baptism ceremony.
You don't have people who are actual members of the church. You have 30 to 50 people that come to your meetings and are not.
ні, члени 10. 10.
No, 10 members. 10 members. 10 members.
Come, they're not members, but sometimes they come and sometimes they don't. They're just casual.
Ні, є ні. Стабільно приходить.
No. 30 people come in a stable way, but from 15 to 20 people come casually. But we have 30 people visiting all the time.
A few questions ago, you've been a pastor since 1999?
Ні, з 99-го року я почав відвідувати церкву.
So since 1999 I started visiting church. Then I was the leader of some divisions of the church. It was about 400 people in that church in Dnipro. And I led some divisions. Then I was deputy preacher, a pastor, and then I decided to open a new church. I left that one.
Own church, but when did you get your degree in
В 10-му році. Я
In 2020, I studied at Lviv seminary, and through the Ministry of Education, my diploma was a legalized diploma of Lviv seminary.
Thank you.
Дякую, пані Оконор.
Thank you, Madam O'Connor. I will continue with the questions. The church was registered on 14th February 2024. At what address? It's registered at the address of my registration in Lutsk. So these 30, 50 people come there to your apartment? No, they haven't come there because this is the address of registration. But officially, we we have meetings at the club at Prospect Mikoyana. We have signed agreement there. I submitted this document to the AG. Well, in December 2023, you received a permit for 3 years to live on the territory of the United Kingdom. In February 2024, you established the church. And as a pastor of that church, you visit the United Kingdom with enlightening purpose, preaching. Don't you think that from the point of view of outside observer, this may lead somebody to believe that this is just a scheme to have an opportunity to cross the border in order to visit your family? Otherwise, you might have problems for crossing the border as a person subjected to military service. As for the first time, when in January I crossed the border, I crossed it not as a pastor of Five Loaves Church. I crossed it as a church servant of the God's Ark. But I said that I served at that church. So we had two different meetings, but visits to the United Kingdom to speak to the congregation when you are not a fluent speaker of English. Speak about insincerity of yours. At the outset, I said that if not for my family, I probably would not go there that often or wouldn't go there at all. Speaking about crossing the border, I could cross the border without their documents. It would be enough for me to take with me my nephew, whose guardian I am. So it's not a big problem for me. So, and you are a guardian of your nephew since 2023. So this guardianship is a separate reason for crossing the border. Yes, on the condition that I'm living together with him. According to the information which the AG has at the bank account of your wife in the United Kingdom, there is more than £13,000. What are the sources of these funds? It's a salary which she received from the Kent University and credit that's different salaries over there. So she's making there more than I can do here. She's working there. Different countries, different standard of living. I hope that after the victory we will get out of the economic crisis. Let's come back to the apartments which we discussed. As we have clarified that not real value was reflected in the agreements in order to reduce taxes. How the payment was made, through the bank or in cash? In cash. So this way the competent authorities were not able to conduct financial monitoring and to find out the legality of sources of these funds which were used as payment for the procured property. So it's maybe, but this sum, irrespective of whether it's cash or non-cash, the price was reduced in the agreement. They wouldn't be able to learn about actual funds, but they couldn't even verify the sources of income, or even at that reduced price. One more question about functioning the legal company Verdict. You were the director of that company since February 2007 till December 2010, according to the information which we have. We found out that on the 9th of October 2014, the court took a decision following the request by the State Tax Service in Dnipropetrovsk to stop functioning of a legal entity because it violates the requirements of the legislation. So do not report about the incomes since April 2009. So you were the director, and since April 2009, while you were director, they didn't submit reporting to taxation service.
Why, as a director, you're allowed to do that? I will explain. Since 2007, I don't even remember submitting tax records until 2009, but maybe I was submitting just empty reports because actually the company had no activity. But then, since one of the key owners, I lost contact with her, and de facto, I worked sort of like as a self-employed, just providing some legal services. Dennis, you, as the director of the LLC, and the LLC is obliged to submit tax records, even if it can performs no activities and has no income, but you have to submit the zeros in the bank, and then you have to submit these tax records. Yes, I did not do that. Why? I did not do that because I think no answer that I can give will be satisfactory for the AG. There are no valid grounds for me not to submit the records. Yes, I did not do that because the connection was lost and I switched to other affairs, and I was not dealing with that company at all. Okay. And moreover, it harmed no one because the company did not engage in any activities. And by the way, I was not brought to responsibility, administrative responsibility for untimely submission or failure to submit the declaration. Okay, Denise, and with respect to this care, Sidorov Danilo, and you are the care of this person since 2023. Who is this Danilo? Danilo Alexeyevich is my nephew. That is the brother of my sister who died in August of 2023, even though actually he used to live with my mother, his grandmother, since birth. He was born in 2007, and he used to live with my mother on a regular basis. And since my sister died, and the guardianship authority, his father died back in 2021, so he has no parents left. Yes, he's the author. And I think I've even provided the order on him, recognition of him as the orphan. And does he live together with you at Novorishno, together with the grandmother and me? Yes, sometimes when my mom goes away, then I spend time with him there. I know that his grandmother is always nearby, so I have the opportunity to live on my own at Shuhavich Street without him. Okay. Dear colleagues, do you have any other questions to our candidate? I have a question. Yes, please.
Пане голово,
Mr. Chair, Vasil was the first and then you, okay? Maybe. Can you please tell us, you've mentioned that your wife is a disabled person. Yes, she has a disability. Since when? Since July of 2024. Actually, we've registered her disability, even though she has had problems with her health since 2017. Okay. And where did you register her disability? In Dnipro. So she came, yes. At first, she came in January because she had to spend some time in a hospital, 2 weeks, I think, as an inpatient. And then we collected all the documents, and then she came in July for the second time to register all of these documents. You've also mentioned that you no. I said that we have not had time to make the certificate for me to cross the border. So the disability certificate is not enough for me to cross the border. That can only be one of the reasons for deferment of conscription. Okay, you were talking about disability and not about the certificate. Maybe I made a mistake. I don't remember mentioning that. I've even provided all the documents to the AGE. Okay, what are your relations with the Territorial Recruitment Center? Relations? Well, right now, I have deferment from conscription based on the ground that I'm taking care of my nephew. and he will become 18 in September of 2025. But in January, I will have to go to the recruitment center, and probably I will provide another ground for deferment since I have a wife with a disability of the second group, and it will become the ground for further deferment from conscription. Okay, clear. Yes, now we have a question from Mr. Aleš Zalar.
Yes, thank you. I would like to ask the candidate how he sees his future, since his family is UK and he wants to become a judge of the Constitutional Court. So how you want to combine the family life and professional life? Are you aware of the heavy burden and responsibility which you would need to take in case that you would get elected as a Constitutional Court judge? And how you will keep the ties with your family? Do you plan to leave your country so often, even in the future, even in the case that you are a Constitutional Court judge?
That's a very difficult question, but I think that I will not be able to leave Ukraine even if I'm selected as the judge. And my wife in the University of Kent has the contract until the end of the year, and maybe financially will not be able to support my family. But we believe that the war will be over and that my family will come back. But if I'm selected as a judge, maybe they will move, maybe not to Dnipro, but to some other city, because Dnipro is very close to some objects there. So of course, I will not be able to leave that often. If whether I'm aware of the burden, yes, I'm aware. What to do? As everyone, I want for the war to be over, and I want for my family to come back.
Okay, since you are aware of the burden of responsibility, let me ask the next question. You are obviously very active in these religious matters, also in Ukraine, as you explained. How you see how you can combine your religious activity with the legal activity at the Constitutional Court?
Справа в тому, що
The matter is that even now, regardless of the fact that I have a huge scope of work, I work in the law firm, I work 5 days per week. On Friday in the evening after work, I go to the religious gatherings, and we have a gathering on Sunday. For now, other people from the religious sphere ask me the same question, like, what are you going to do if you are selected as the judge? And for now, actually, I don't know. But I would be able to attend gatherings on Sunday because there are other active members of the church as well. But with respect to the future, then I will have to decide later on. I think right now I will not be able to answer this question because I feel close both to the church. I open the church because I care about this, and this is really important to have these people in my life. And if I didn't open the church, I would probably be in the UK and I would live there waiting for the end of the war. But the church is sort of the anchor that is keeping me here. The church and the people I'm serving there. Regardless of the fact that I really, really find it difficult to live separately from my family that is in the UK now. But I don't want to live in the UK. I love my country and I want to see changes in my country and not somewhere else.
No further questions.
Пані Сухоцька.
Ms. Sukhoitska, please.
Yes, I would like to follow the last question put by President Aleš. You belong to one of the churches, and as a judge, you have to be completely independent. Yes, as you said, you don't know how you can combine this duty, being a judge and priest. Probably you have to be faithful to to the direction of
Визначитись.
your church, yes? Being an active pastor, not only member of the community. How you see it in the light of the independence of church, and especially the churches working abroad. So it is a very complicated situation for you to be a neutral and independent judge.
Я думаю,
I think that, on the contrary, belief in God helps to correctly judge. And by the way, Ms. Suchocka, you are from Poland, if I'm not mistaken, and I really love Poland because Karol Wojtyła made a significant impact, and he had a significant impact on the entire Poland. George Washington was also saying that it is impossible to correctly rule the world without the God and Bible. And our constitution is really great in my opinion, because right now it does not contradict the Bible, and I will do everything possible to defend the supremacy of the constitution. And belief in God will only help me in this. It will not prevent me from doing that. And the fact that I will have to decide what to do, yes, that's for sure. Because being the judge of the Constitutional Court is also the serving the people. And I don't even know the salary of the judges of the Constitutional Court. I don't care about that. Do we have any other questions? Ms. Suchocka?
The comment that even in Poland we don't have priests in the Constitutional Court. Yes, it would be rather difficult. So I don't see that. I see that completely different face to the God, and being, how to say, faithful to God, and being a member of the organizational institution of such a small church as you belong to. So this is a question which should, how to say, involve some doubt.
Do we have any other questions? Ms. Vasilchenko? No question. Deputy member of the AGE, Mr. Grithert, asks to ask a question. If Ms. Okorna is fine with that, he can do that.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you. I just have a question. As a pastor, if you were a judge on the court, if there was a conflict between what the Constitution of Ukraine requires and what your biblical beliefs require, which would you follow?
Look, right now, as I've answered, right now our constitution does not contradict the Bible. If some amendments are introduced into our constitution which contradict the Bible, I will just leave the position of the judge, and that's it.
Thank you.
Наш час на
Our time for the interview is over. We have no other questions to the candidates. So, dear candidates, now you have the opportunity to say concluding remarks addressed to the AGE. You have up to 5 minutes. Yes, thank you. When I was coming here, I did not even try. I did not even think that I would be here. And in March, when I saw that there was announced the competition, I believed that everything can be fair and openly here. So that's just an ordinary competition for me. If God allows it, I will pass it. That's just the first step, because I'm not the specialist in the constitutional law at all. But we did not have the problem with competent people in the Constitutional Court. As far as I know, we always had a problem with honest people and not about the competence of the people. Even though when I applied for the competition, I saw you, the AGE, and I'm telling everyone, I'm assuring them right now the AGE consists of good, honest people. So for me, for example, no matter what you decide, for me, this is just the service to the people. My salary is more than enough for me. I do not live a rich lifestyle, but I have no needs. So everything that I can promise to you and to the Ukrainian people is that I will serve Ukraine faithfully as the oath of the judge of the Constitutional Court demands. I will be diligent, honest, and fair during the protection of the Constitutional Court and defending the human rights and citizens' rights. That's what I can promise, to be honest. That's it. Thank you.
One question, if I may, just follow up. One of your answers was if there's a conflict between the Bible or your religious teachings and the Constitution, and you were on the court, you would leave the court. Did you mean that you would recuse from that case, or you would leave the job altogether?
Ну, згідно
According to the Constitution, the application on retirement is impossible during 4 years since the moment of appointment. But with respect to, I hope that it will not happen at all, because in order to amend the Constitution, it is necessary to have the conclusion of the Constitutional Court. And I think any amendment that can contradict the Bible will contradict the human rights. And any conclusion that will contradict the biblical values, because the European values are also biblical values since the very beginning, and entire Europe and the US were founded by religious people. Dennis, we are grateful for your answers to our questions. And now I'm announcing the interview of the AGE with candidate for the position of the Judge of the Constitutional Court, Hrytsenko Denis Valerievich, over. Please leave the premises and let us advise. Thank you. Goodbye.